But Kevin Durant, on the other hand, he's for sure out of there. And the question is where. So, what do you all think is the best? Like outside of what like KD has said and what has been said, what do you all think is the best fit for KD?
New York, stand up.
Nah, I don't like it.
Yeah, me either. It's too
To see
obvious.
Cat and D Book reunited, I wouldn't mind it.
There's a
Oh,
world where I'm not mad at that.
I think that'd be the flip. I think that's the most fun trade.
oh, you're shipping Cat to Phoenix.
One for one,
Whoa.
essentially.
I don't see it. I don't
Yeah.
see it being that straight
um,
up.
I
Somebody,
mean, what? Who would have to give more? It'd have to be Phoenix would have to give more.
New York.
I think they'd have. I think what they would. I think what they would give up would be relatively even, in terms of statistics, like the numbers of how many
Yeah.
players or picks. Yes. Now, value of said player and picks, TBD,
But
right?
that's what I'm saying. Where it's like you're getting an age in KD that's only there for a couple years. Cat is a
Yeah.
cornerstone for how long?
But I still feel like New York will be finessed because New York's New York. So I do feel like they would be the team that ended up giving more value than Phoenix.
I just don't think KD to New York is a win now move for New York. Like, and
I don't.
that's not disrespect to KD or nothing like that. I just don't think replacing Cat with him with the current roster, like you still are going to have to make other roster moves to stay in win now mode. Like the picks you gave up for Miguel, like you already went all in on right now. So
Yeah,
unless you're gonna bring in, I mean,
So
I do like the growth that Mitchell Robinson had. So if he's healthy, I'm not saying KD and him aren't like decent in the front court, but I still think they need someone else. Like you
depth,
need another big,
depth. They
you
need
need more
depth.
depth at
yeah.
the big position, to make it work. And probably a more impressive guard. I don't dislike their guard depth necessarily, but I think if they had a better, like true backup to Brunson, the way McConnell is a backup to Hallie, if they had something like that, I'd feel a little bit better too. Just somebody that can definitively take the load off of Brunson's shoulders. So I just,
Yeah.
as fun as the trade is, I don't I just don't realistically see it. I do think what makes the most sense for where KD is now and where teams would be if they get him right now, Houston and Miami do seem like the most logical destinations. Um, because KD can come in and do exactly what he does, and that theoretically should be enough to make either of those teams ultra comparative in comparison to where they would be beforehand. But also,
It's
I don't know if the
Miami.
trade works.
It's Miami for me. I think that would be the most complete team with an addition of Kevin Durant. As long as you, of course, keep Bam and Tyler Hero, you add Kevin Durant to that. I feel like you're in a great position in, like you said, the wide open East. You, unfortunately, due to injury, you don't have to worry about Boston. We saw some weaknesses with the Knicks if they don't address that backup point guard spot, and if they don't get deeper at the center position, I think that Miami can compete there. And then time will tell with the Bucks, but I feel like Miami would be in a great position if they could add a KD to that.
The only
Florida is a for retirees.
facts, I'm weak as hell. But the downside is KD is getting paid a lot of money, and you're going to have to give up something when you trade for him. So even if you keep Hero and Bam, who all do you have to give up, and how else can you complete that roster to be competitive? Is Miami, very, do they seem like experts in finding these random ass guys that end up being hoopers? Yes. So maybe this happens, right? Is heat culture still a thing? Maybe. I don't know. But it makes sense, right? Like I think I think Miami, I think Houston, maybe a Memphis, depending on how that would look like. I think those are situations where KD can be KD as we see him and know him, and it would be the best position for him. I also don't know if KD is looking like, since he doesn't control it now, is KD getting traded to his last spot, right? But this is also an expiring contract too. So it's kind of like, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's an expiring contract. So I'm not, I think that's what makes it tricky. So I don't know. I don't know. Like there are spots that make sense, but I don't know if any move definitively puts him in a contention situation. Like going to the East is more wide open, but I still don't think that necessarily guarantees like true contention, considering the course of an 82 game season, course of roster makeup, like all the other things that come after the trade. You know what I'm saying? So, but I do think he'll be the first domino, probably the first major domino. He's damn near the only really huge
Yeah.
domino left. Slim Reaper, uh, finally on the move to Houston. Not surprised. One of his preferred destinations, one of the destinations that we said would make the most sense. So, with KD going to Houston, first question, what do we think of the haul that Phoenix got for
A
KD?
lot. That was a lot. It was the
What?
5 picks for me. The 5 picks for me was a lot.
5 second rounders here.
I probably
Let's,
come up off 3.
but then you think about it, and it's like this haul was really for what? Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson. Like you have to think about what they've already lost to get KD, and this is just collateral. So you got Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks and
Mhm.
5 rounders for what could have been your core already in Cam, Mikal, and
Yeah.
they lost Okogie, they lost Nurkic. Like this was all to fit a KD. Like they had a nucleus. Throw Aiden, like they've lost a lot for what is now Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks, where they already have a ton of guards. And now they have a ton of centers, which we'll get to later. But yeah, I think it's a great fit for Houston. Someone told me today that they think that this is a first round exit. I disagree. I think that they're Western Conference Finals minimum / maximum. Like they fit right in there, and they can go either way from there because I think that this shores up their half court offense tremendously. This is really the only hole that they had. They had great defense. They didn't lose too much. Granted, what I've said about a lot of they lost an inconsistent guard that could give you 30 or could give you 5, and now they have a consistent 25. What they lose is a dog, where it's like everyone needs a team, even though I think Dylan Brooks might be the only player in the opposite direction where they antagonize the other team to play better. You need an annoying, physical, scrappy guard or just defender in general. Like every championship team has one. I think that's what they lose the most in this, outside of Jalen Green. But I think when you're getting KD back in this window with Ime, and you still have Tori, you still have Amen, you still have Shengun, like this was
Just
a great.
resign Steven Adams.
I think it's a win-win. I think it's a win-win where it's like Phoenix was already kind of dead in the water, where it's like KD let his plans be known. He didn't want to be there, so they already didn't have a lot of leverage. So they get a positive piece back. And I think Jalen Green, because you don't know what he could be still, he still shows shines of glimmers of hope in his career. He has great games, but then he just needs to find a way to put it together in every single game. They get a good perimeter defender in Dylan Brooks. They're still looking like they're trying to retool to win now. If we talk about their draft picks later. So I'm not too upset with what Phoenix did either, because they kind of were handcuffed in this situation. But I think for Houston, if you're in that win now mode, you know, this is what it's a half court offense problem solver whenever you need one. He is their Pascal Siakam. If you want to correlate it to what teams have done for their teams, that's what Indiana did with getting Pascal. And I think that this is just that, but on a grander scale. They have 2 years to prove it in an already stacked West. So
That's the thing.
where it's like, yeah, that first round exit, they might catch something scary.
Well, that's the thing. So KD's on an expiring contract, which is what makes this interesting. It's just
Well, he did say in the list of teams that he was willing to go to, he would commit to long term.
so I agree with that. And I think that honestly, the way that Houston is set up low key, this could be KD's last stop.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I wouldn't be upset with that. I
yeah.
think this expiring contract was a lot to take on, but I think Houston has the flexibility to go through it this year and take the hit because it's over 50 million. And then
Yeah.
whether he extends or whatever they're going to do, I'm pretty sure he'll likely take a team friendly deal because you're going to get into a space where I don't think they have paid Şengün yet, right? Or did they pay Şengün and not
I,
Green?
I was gonna say they weren't gonna be able to pay Şengün, Green, and Amen
Right.
already. So like that's a great
So it's a
cap clear.
great, yes, so it's a great move. As far as Dylan Brooks leaving, if Amin is who we all think he is, and if he's going to take the leap that we're all hoping and expecting him to take anyway, you'll be
Yeah.
fine. Like you said, still got Tari Eason. What this also does is open up the backcourt. Reed Shepard is a lottery pick from last year that barely got time. He's
Yep.
going to get playing time. Cam Whitmore was a dog that was not getting any time. Unless there's still an issue with him and Ime, he should get the opportunity now to be able to play. But Houston could also say, if Cam is a bad fit or whatever the case may be, they could also make more moves. They bring Van Fleet back, which I think is great in terms of having a stabilizer and a game manager for your
Maybe
offense. So think of this team, right? You have Van Fleet, you have Amin, you can go Reed or Cam if you want to start another guard, right? And then you can go KD and play him at 4 and play Şengün. Or if you want to go bigger, you can go Van Fleet, Amin, KD, Şengün, and Steven Adams. So like they have like their core is still pretty much intact. They have the half court offense settled. You didn't lose too much on defense, and you're still young. You're actually younger if you play the players that you have. So I agree, Gail. Win-win. I love the move, honestly. I think it positions Houston as long as they work out all the kinks and figure out like how to solidify this identity with KD. I think it puts them right back in for sure top six, might even be top four in the West. You never know how the West shakes out
they
until
were two
the
last
season.
year. I
Yeah,
think they stay.
could
It's a
be.
flips,
So
but yeah.
I love the move. I thought it was interesting that Miami was hesitant to put together a certain package that might have gotten KD there. Um,
They didn't want to include Jovic or Khalil Ware.
uh,
Yep.
or Jaime Jaquez, which like it's weird because you let so many players walk a couple years ago. Like that year they let Strus and Vincent and all them walk after the finals run. But now you want to hold on to players even when there's a KD available. And you know that you have no long-term vision really with the current roster the way it is. But I mean, with some of the talks that have been happening, like since the trade with has went down, Miami might be more on the verge of blowing it up anyway than they were trying to get KD and build some type of win now contender, even in a wide open East. They might be shopping a Bam. They might be shopping a Andrew Wiggins. So
They were shopping a Bam.
right. So I mean, we'll see.